Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Joy Sewing. I'm the Houston Chronicle lifestyle and culture columnist, and I am so excited to be here and honored to be here, invited by the National Association of Black Journalists. And this is our webinar from small business to small screen, a conversation with Jamila Norman and Jonathan Morris. Now, before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know you can drop your questions in the Q&A box below. You should see that. So let's get started with our guest. I want to welcome Jamila Norman. She's host of her own show on the Magnolia network called Homegrown. Coming from a family rooted in agriculture, Jamila is continuing her family's work by owning and operating Patchwork City Farms, an urban farm in Atlanta committed to teaching others about food, sustainability, and wellness. She embraces the idea that one simple garden can impact families, communities, and the environment far beyond our expectations. In Homegrown, Jamila helps families transform their outdoor spaces into beautiful and functional backyard farms while exploring the joy and benefits of growing their own food. Now let's take a look at season 2 trailer for Homegrown.
Being out here on my farm is one of my favorite places to be because it reminds me to appreciate the simple things in life. My name is Jamila Norman, and I'm an urban farmer in the city of Atlanta. And I love to help others discover the joys of farming and start their own gardens for their family.
We need a garden. That's what we're missing.
Farming is connection. If you see your plant reaching, they're looking for sunlight. To the source of your food, ooh, that's gorgeous. It's used for strengthening your immune system.
The kids are gonna love that.
To your community.
Yes.
To your family.
Honey.
Honey. Honey. Oh my God, you guys, we did great. Nice. Look at this. Nature will do most of the work, but if you don't nurture it, it won't be its best self.
Oh my goodness.
You're so tiny.
It's truly been a gift for the family to come out here.
Well, that's what I always want to do, is just set people up for success and just leave them in a place where I know that it will be beautiful and they will grow all the things that they ever wanted.
This was the dream, right?
It's a miracle every time. After all, everything tastes a little better when it's homegrown.
I love that. Okay, our next guest is Fort Worth-based entrepreneur Jonathan Morris, right in Texas. And he's the host of Magnolia Network's Self-Employed. He's the owner of Fort Worth Barbershop and Hotel Dryce, a 21-room craft hotel and bar. On his show, Jonathan travels the country to share the inspirational stories and challenges of small business owners on their journey to building their dreams. Now let's take a look at the trailer for Self-Employed.
Is it good? No. I'm Jonathan Morris, owner of Fort Worth Barbershop and my newest venture, Hotel Dryce. Entrepreneurship is my passion, and ever since I launched my shop, I've been on a mission to meet other small business owners. I want to know how they built their businesses, what drives their innovations, and share their secrets, along with the ups.
I like to think you're in the happiest place in America.
I love it. The downs.
I didn't have anything. I had literally these 10 t-shirts, and I had this idea.
And everything in between.
When was that moment that you felt like, okay, this is actually working?
That's still kind of...
I know, well...
Join me as we experience a day in the life of these small businesses. While their journey isn't always easy,
I went to 86 banks. I heard no 86 times.
the rewards can be tremendous.
You made that?
I made this.
He could be a part of the business.
He could. He could.
And it all starts with taking that first step to becoming self-employed.
I want to do it like they do it on television. When they go,
There you go.
Congratulations, both of you, to your shows. Jamila, you're in season 2. And Jonathan, this is your first season. Congratulations.
Versus, thank you, Joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I want to ask both of you, how do you go from, Jamila, I'll start with you. How do you go from having your farm in Atlanta to having a show?
Actually, the show found me. I was just operating my farm. I've been operating my farm for about going on 12 years now in Atlanta. And I've just been in the work and in the space for some time. And I think it was just the right time. It was, COVID was happening. So everybody was really into just growing their own food. And this local production company had an idea for this show. And when they went looking for talent in Atlanta, and they were looking for somebody who's operating a farm in Atlanta, I was already there. I went in and talked to them. They sent me an email, literally just got an email one day in February, minding my business. And they were like, hey, we have an idea for a show. And I had done some on-camera stuff before, just nothing serious, nothing I would have ever thought would have been, a whole show. And it just sort of went up the chains, and it just,
And here you are.
We have a show now. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's fantastic. Jonathan, how did your journey happen?
Yeah, Joy, kind of similar to Jamila's story in that part of my plan was never to have a television show. However, there was something about the timing of it all. I got a text message one day from a friend of mine asking me if I had some time to talk, and we hopped on the phone, and he said, hey, I'm talking with the folks down at Magnolia in Waco, here in Texas also. And that friend of mine happens to have a production company here in Fort Worth, Texas. And 1 minute, I'm just an entrepreneur running a business and trying to connect with other entrepreneurs in my community. The next, we're on television. And so it's been a really, really cool experience. And quite frankly, it's given me an opportunity to just do what I love, which is connect with other entrepreneurs and hear their stories and be inspired by people who are living out their dreams.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question about how you open a hotel during a pandemic, but I want to first talk with Jamila. How did you get into urban farming?
I was an environmental engineer in the state of Georgia. I lived in the city of Atlanta, and I lived in a historically Black community in Southwest Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And, I'm raising my kids. I think my boys were 5, 7, and 9 when I started really farming. And I just wanted better food options. Really, it just started with just coming together with a couple people in the neighborhood. And we wanted to just do a community garden and grow some food for our families because the food options were just horrible. It was just fast food, liquor stores, and all the worst things. And gardening was always something that I wanted to do, that I loved. I'm originally from New York, so I just never really had access to space and to green space like that. But Atlanta has a lot of green space. So once we got started, it was a big group that just really became me and another friend of mine coming out consistently over and over again. And I just fell in love with the process, and I just never stopped. And I transitioned after I was farming and operating as an engineer for 4 years. So it'd be engineer during the day, farmer on the weekends, during the holidays, during the break, just whatever time I could get, I'd be on the farm and I'd be going to market and all that stuff. So that's kind of how I got into it. That was the seed that kind of got me into it, was just really trying to create access for my family, and then just seeing that there was a hole in the community and just wanting to be part of the solution. So I just jumped in, and I'm like, I'm just going to do it.
Well, what you mentioned about access, and so many of urban communities and Black and brown communities are food deserts. And you're seeing a rise in urban farming. Mm-hmm. Did that fuel your need to want to, really get in and do this for a career?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely filled the need. And I got so much more satisfaction from working on the farm, going to market, connecting with people, just really being part of the cycle of nature in terms of like seeing something from a seed for a salt transplant all the way to a crop to harvest, and then going to market and sharing that with people, and then being really excited and being really grateful and really thankful. And it was just like, it was a feedback and an engagement that I hadn't had in my career, you know, as an engineer, and a lot more impactful. So yeah, so, you know, I was in a community that was a food desert, and I was like, I got to be part of the solution. You know what I mean? We can't, for me, I like to just jump in and do things. And I saw this as like a really simple solution to fresh food, beautiful spaces, because I mean, you know, I'm transforming what was, you know, a blighted space or just a green space or unused space into a thriving garden, bringing diversity back. So birds and bees and all the wildlife, and people just come and they're just like, wow, it's just beautiful. It's so wonderful. And it really touches me when a lot of older, you know, people come to the garden, because it just really takes them back to a time. They're like, oh my God, I remember, you know, growing food, you know, right, you know, or people will be like, oh, I remember visiting my grandparents, you know, in the summertime, and they had this big garden. So it's just kind of like reconnecting people back to the land and reconnecting our communities back to the land. So, I mean, it's beautiful in every way.
Now, Jonathan, okay, I'm fascinated by this. You open a hotel in the middle of a pandemic, but you started as with your barbershop. Tell us how you transitioned into your barbershop, then into the hotel.
Sure. So, you know, I opened up my barbershop back in 2012. I'm not a barber by trade. I never cut anyone's hair in my entire life. I've just always been fascinated by entrepreneurship since I was very, very young. And, you know, when we opened up the barbershop in 2014, it really came out of scratching my own itch, right? And I looked around and I saw this resurgence of the barber culture coming back, right? This old school version of barbering was coming back. And you could see it happening on the East Coast, could see it happening on the West Coast, saw it happening in Europe. I'm just like, man, like I want a barbershop with a vibe, you know? And I didn't see that in the city that I live in, which was also Fort Worth, Texas, which is also at the time a very quickly growing city. And so I decided, you know what, if no one else is gonna create this place that I want to be to get my hair cut, then I'll create it. And so that's what I did. And the community responded, you know, to my hypothesis that if we build something special, and you know this trend was already on the rise, that we could do it here, we can do it really, really well here. In kind of the same way, the hotel came about. I love to travel, and when I do travel, I love to stay in independent hotels. I love to stay in places that give me a sense of place, and environments tell me something about where I am. I'm obsessive about hotel lobbies. I love a hotel lobby bar. And so, you know, as much as I love hotels, I also love Fort Worth, Texas, the city that I call home. And I've just always thought, like, man, like if someone is coming to my city, I want them to be able to experience the city in an authentic and real way, through a mezcal cocktail in the lobby bar, the way that I do when I travel to other cities. And so in 2018, the process of developing a hotel started in 2021, and about 2 months ago, we officially opened our doors to Hotel Dryce here in the Culture District in Fort Worth.
Now, tell me the name. Where does the Hotel Dryce? What is the
Dryce? So DRYCE. So the warehouse that we bought and converted into a 21-room hotel was a dry ice warehouse. And so, whereas they used to sell dry ice, we reimagined it to a hotel. Hence the name Hotel Dryce.
Fantastic. What was it like filming a show about entrepreneurs during a pandemic when so many businesses were closing and folding and people were reshifting?
You know, what was so interesting about, you know, that time as we were filming was that, you know, just like everybody in all of our society globally was dealing with the impact of COVID-19, the entrepreneurs were getting hit in a whole new way. But what I found is that I feel like entrepreneurs specifically are really well equipped to pivot and to change things, because that's kind of the nature of what an entrepreneur is already. And so to see how some of these entrepreneurs took what could have been devastating to a lot of entrepreneurs was devastating, and, you know, quite frankly, you know, crushed a lot of businesses. To see the way that people persevered through that, for me as an entrepreneur, I was just incredibly inspired by the people that I got to meet across the country.
So Hotel Dries has been open a couple of months now.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going great. It's going really, really well. Now, I say that, you know, it's a everyday learning experience. The thing that's really cool about the hotel is that it is this living organism that never, ever stops. The barbershop closes on Sundays and Mondays. It's open from 9 to 6, right? The hotel, it don't stop. And so it's been really, really cool. Even just in these first couple of months that we've been open, growing our small team of Fort Worthians that are helping introduce and/or reintroduce Fort Worth to visitors, and at the same time build this community hub where we are inviting locals to come and hang as well.
That's fantastic. Now, Jamila, there has been a decline in Black farmers. I mean, we see these reports, you know, left and right about how there were very few to begin with and how few there are now. Where do you see the future of farming?
I get a lot of interest. I get a lot of people that reach out to me that want to get into farming. We definitely have a lot of barriers of entry into farming in terms of, you know, access to land, the cost it takes to get it set up, because I mean, running your own farm, I'm an entrepreneur, you know, I'm running my own business, I'm growing food, but you know, it's everything that's involved in running a business. So, and people, we're about a generation or two disconnected from sort of like the livelihood of farming within our families, right? So maybe our grandparents, our great grandparents, in my case, were the last people in my family that farmed. And so I'm picking up, you know, multiple generations later where they left off. So, you know, there is a lot more attention. COVID and the Black Lives Matter brought a lot of attention to sort of like the plight of Black farmers, how it's important to support Black farmers, the importance of food, healthy food, local food, having control over our food system. And even before that, I got a lot of interest from young people who really want to enter the field. And so this show for me serves as an opportunity to sort of like educate a mass of people that I couldn't reach if I tried to individually. I mean, before the show and before COVID, I was getting a lot of people that were reaching out. Oh my God, can I learn this? Or can you show me that? Or I've got some property over here, and you know, so much information. So I saw this show as an opportunity to kind of get a lot of information out to people. And I think our government, right, is seeing that they have to make amends, and they have to support Black farmers in a way that they know they haven't in the past. And so we're seeing bills, we're seeing some initiatives, they're taking time. Unfortunately, some of them are on hold or have been stifled with some lawsuits, but I think people are in it for the long haul, and people are really looking to support Black farmers in a way where we want to see a resurgence, because during, after the Jim Crow era, there were over 1 million Black farmers.
Right.
And now we're down to less than 30,000.
Right.
And the land base that we own also is way less. So it is a major, as you would call it, miscarriage of justice. You know what I mean? Of what happened to Black farmers in the story. But people are still committed. Black people still love the land. They're still connected to it, and they want to get reconnected. And I'm encouraged by that. So I keep going,
Fantastic. Well, I grew up around farm. Well, my relatives are farmers, so we spent our summers in Missouri on all the farms, and I have such fond memories. Are your children involved? Are they experiencing this?
Yeah, my children were right next to me on the farm. I thought they were 5, 7, and 9 when I started. My youngest is a senior in high school and the other 2 are in college. So, they're just having their me time right now to kind of figure out what they want to do. But they were there the whole time with me on the farm, at market, and if I ask them to, hey, help me plant this, they know what to do. So they're very much, familiar with it. But I'm giving them, figure out what you want to do.
Right.
It'd be nice if somebody was interested, so we'll see.
I want to ask both of you what the challenges are for what you do. So Jamila, what the challenges are for having an urban farm. Jonathan, your challenges for being an entrepreneur with 2 big businesses. What Jonathan first, what are the major challenges?
Navigating through a global pandemic now. That's something that, like I said, we're all as entrepreneurs dealing with in some way or another. And there's not a playbook, right? There hasn't been a playbook. But I do think that having gone through that and going through it currently also, I think we're better for having gone through it in terms of being prepared for anything that may be thrown at us as entrepreneurs. Building culture, right? Doing within our teams, but then also, how the culture that we build within businesses permeates through the community is something that's really important to me. Being a person of color in Fort Worth, Texas, creating something that in the hotel space, there hasn't been another Black man that's owned a hotel in 100 years, right? And so the representation and what that means, it sometimes can feel like a big obligation, but I'm just really proud to be in the space and hopefully be building something legacy worthy moving forward. And that comes with its challenges, but at the same time, I think that's just part of what entrepreneurship is. It's being prepared to go open the door of the unknown, and be not fearless, but willing to take some punches and keep it moving.
Jamila, what are the challenges for you?
I think one of the main challenges is sort of like building a farm from nothing, right? So I'm in the city of Atlanta. The spaces that I have available that I've cultivated a farm in, I'm starting off literally with just a patch of grass. And a lot of people don't understand a lot of the infrastructure that goes into really setting up a farm and having a production, like a real production operation where you're really producing a lot consistently. And so for me, this is the 3rd space that I've cultivated in the city under Patchwork City Farms. And this is like, I've had to move my farm twice. And so previous to that, I was leasing land. And every time that, through all kinds of, we don't even have time for the conversation about, why we lost the lease. It's just all kinds of craziness. Every time that you have to move, that literally sets you back to stage 1. You know what I mean? You're starting over. So constantly starting over. So, I'm not starting with a trust fund. I'm not starting with money. Like, for most of us, we're self-funding this and we're being real creative on where we're finding money, how we have to partner, the things that we have to do. So I'm now in a space where I own the property, and the investments that I'm making in this property are for the long term. But that is a major barrier, and that's a major challenge. It's definitely a lot of the infrastructure that you need to set up and have in place to be able to operate your farm. And then labor. Labor is another really big one, because a lot of people think they're interested in farming.
The work happens.
And then, summer in Atlanta happens. And, we get some 90, it'll be 100-degree days. And it's also the longest day. Like, the summer is the longest time, so you could spend 12 hours on the farm if you need to get what you need to get done. So, it is a special person that is committed to farming year after year, season after season. I love it. I love the heat. I thrive in the heat. I welcome it. I run away from cold. So, I'll be dripping sweat all day long, and I'm all about it. So, so those are the two main challenges. Outside of that, we can pivot for a lot of things. I've pivoted for market needs. COVID, we pivoted, went online, sold online, and just really adjust. But those are, I would say, two of the major challenges.
Now, Jonathan, of the people that you were able to bring on your show, the entrepreneurs, who was your favorite, or the one that stands out as being, the most memorable to you?
Ooh, that's a great question. I was in Detroit, and I met Rosalind Karamoko of Detroit is the New Black. She has a retail store right there on Woodward Avenue in Detroit. And what I loved about Rosalind is not only is she building her dream in her retail space in her store, but is committed to creating space for other people in her community to build their own dreams. In addition to that, she's giving back. She has this partnership with the Boys and Girls Club in Detroit. And in the episode, we got to, like, on and off camera, we got to spend time with these kids that Rosalind is inspiring. And, like, I'm not gonna say I got misty, but it was like really just like tugged at my heart, because it's like what we touched on this in that particular episode is like representation matters, and you could see it. And I got to see it in real time, how these young people were seeing this entrepreneur live out her dream, bring these ideas that she's had to life. And you could just see that alone fueled them. And I believe that they're going to be the next generation of entrepreneurs in Detroit or beyond, right? And so I don't know, that one stuck with me. But I had so many incredible conversations with entrepreneurs that I got to hang out with, and like on camera, but then also like I got to spend a lot of time with these people off camera as well. And many of them I consider friends now.
It looks like you had a lot, just from the trailer, it looks like you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah. The thing about the show is, like, and I told, like, the production folks, like, hey, listen, y'all, like, I'm not an actor. Like, I've never been on television. So if you just want to capture me hanging out with people, whatever comes out is what comes out. So I hope that, people get to enjoy seeing what I felt like were just real, authentic interactions. But ultimately, we got to, like, help people amplify and tell their story and explain the why behind what they do. And my hope is that people watching are inspired to chase their own dreams or become self-employed, and or people just see, people not necessarily may not want to be or need to be an entrepreneur, but they see the importance of supporting someone else's dream.
Right. What is the best advice that you give that you would give to entrepreneurs, or that you give on the show?
I would say, let me answer it like this. I think that the trend line, the thing that I noticed across all of these entrepreneurs that I talked to, is this relentlessness in the face of adversity, right? Nobody that I talked to just had this, golden walk into success as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
But everyone that I talked to was not defeated by those obstacles. And quite frankly, I feel like those things made them all stronger. And so if there's anything that I would surmise from that I could then regurgitate as advice, it would be to, keep going in the face of adversity, because those challenges are going to come regardless, whether it be in the form of HR issues or financial issues or a global pandemic. Challenges are coming. So if you're not ready for them, if you think that you're gonna just skate past without facing them, probably not. Entrepreneurship is probably not for you. But if you wanna face those storms, jump in the boat.
I want to remind people who are watching that you can put your questions right in the Q&A box right below. So, Jamila, I have a question for you. For people who have small spaces, there are people in apartments, there are people with little patio homes, or they don't have a space that they can do a big, farming type. What would you suggest? And they want to grow their own produce.
Yeah.
And what would they start with?
Yeah. So, I mean, okay. So it is important to have sunlight. So I cannot stress, I think people overlook how much sun you need to actually grow food. So if you have a place in your home, on your patio, porch, back deck, wherever, window, where you're getting somewhere between 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, okay, then we have a great place to start. If you don't have sunlight, then you can definitely use grow lights, and that's a conversation for a whole nother day. But you need light, and you need a good spectrum of light so plants can grow. All right. Indoors, an easy thing on a windowsill, patio, herbs, lettuces, they're really easy. If you got maybe a little bit bigger space, you can do a lot of greens, radishes, root vegetables. Onion and garlic are pretty easy as well. They don't take up a lot of space, but they do take some time. They take like 6 months to produce an onion or a head of garlic. I mean, it takes a while. Yes, it takes 6 months. There's so many things you learn, so many things that you just don't know until you get in there and jump in, that you realize take a really long time. But yeah, it's just kind of like starting small, and an easy entry are herbs and like greens. That's like easy entry, and then you can kind of like maybe upgrade to some root vegetables, things like that. But like your tomato, cucumbers, a lot of those things that you think about that are like quintessential garden fresh tomato, you need space, you need some height, so tomatoes will get upwards of 6 feet tall and keep going. Cucumbers are a vine, so either if you have a small space, you don't want it sprawling all over, you want to trellis it up, that you need a little bit more space for that. So that's what I mean, pots are great, pots are great for planting things. You just have to size the pot according to the plant. And you can research all this or look it up. It's not, it's easy to find this information.
Okay, so you're now in season 2. What is different this season compared to last season?
Okay, so what's different this season is the main thing that we've added new to season 2 is that we're taking a pause. So we usually, film the installation, we'll get to where we're planting the garden, and it's like, all right, we planted the garden, and you see it planted. So now we're actually taking a 2-month break, and we're coming back and we're seeing the garden lush, and we get to see people actually harvest in the garden, see what happens, and also maybe address if there are any issues. Because what we were finding with the families, because, I'm gonna set you up for success, and they're like, I wanna grow everything. And then everything comes in, and then they're calling and they're like, oh my God, what do I do with this? how do I harvest this? How do I know that this cucumber is ready? Are these beans ready? So we're like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, we need to show people what it looks like when it comes in. And what's a good time? So one family was letting cucumbers get this big. And he's like, it just keeps growing. We're like, actually, you can't eat it anymore. It's like too tough and it's bitter. Like, you got to pick it at the right size. So we're like, okay. So that's a lot of season 2 is definitely bringing in the harvest, right? Seeing the harvest and seeing how lush the gardens are. And we're just like, taking on sort of like more kind of like challenging plants, just kind of going a little bit deeper. The gardens are bigger, they're better, they're more beautiful. And like, for instance, we did asparagus, which is a whole thing.
Asparagus sounds hard.
It is. It is, but once you set it up, and you have to be very patient because you have to wait at least upwards of 3 years before you can harvest asparagus.
3 years?
Yes, 3 years.
Boy, it makes you appreciate it.
It makes you appreciate it, wouldn't it? Yeah, when you put in all the work yourself and then you get that first, it might be just one asparagus. When it's time, you are going to be like, this is the best asparagus ever in your life. But
I'm
then
gonna
once
eat
it's
asparagus
in,
slower now.
Exactly. Yes, you're just gonna save it. But once it's in, you have it for 20, 30 years. Like, you do not have to replant it. It is set up. It just keeps coming, and it replenishes itself, and then you are good. So some things are a practice in patience, and then some things are, really easy and quick. So, season 2, bigger and better. Oh, and then we doubled the episodes. We have 12 episodes for season 2.
Fantastic. Good.
Yeah. So.
Hey, Jonathan, what makes a good entrepreneur? What makes a good entrepreneur?
I think perseverance. I think having the ability to stomach really tough times. I think the ability to have tough conversations. I think the ability to be able to communicate really effectively. I think being able to deal with the anxiety of not always having the answers, but being dependent on to know what to do next, and in some weird way relishing in that. I think those are all things that are really important. I think that with entrepreneurship, it's absolutely not for everyone, but I do believe that if you feel like you have something that you are an idea that you are fixated on and obsessed with, and there's a market for it. I think that I hate for people to regret not having made that leap, regret having made that jump, and even let some of what might be barriers to entries hinder them from just getting started, even if it's in a really small, scaled down way. And so, yeah, I just think that being willing to do the hard things, and being willing to be always learning. And that's the way that I think about entrepreneurship is an education. I really think about it like every day I'm building a business, I'm at school, I'm learning. And my goal is to always be better today than I was yesterday, every day, right? So that the product that we put out, the service that we put out, just continues to grow and evolve. The first day I opened up my barbershop, compared to today, we did a lot of things very differently than we do today. And just 2 months into running this hotel, I guarantee you in 6-7 years from now, hopefully we're doing a lot of things a lot better than we are today, but we're going, we got the train on the tracks, and I'm excited for every turn.
I'm going to ask you a question, then we're going to open it up to our questions from our audience. And Jonathan, what does success mean to you?
Ooh, that's a big question, Joy. For me personally, success is being able to take ideas that live in my head and in my heart and sharing those ideas with the world, right? For me, like, when I think back to the idea of opening up a hotel in Fort Worth, Texas, that just lived with me. It was my thing. And so I remember about 2 months ago, and I was sitting in the hotel lobby and I saw a couple roll in their bags to come and check into this hotel. It was like goosebumps. It was just like being able to take an idea from literally a dream and make it a place, a space that other people get to interact with in their own way. That feels like some semblance of success to me. And that's something that I just want to continue to do through whatever businesses that I pursue.
That has to be a good feeling to see people rolling their luggage into your nice lobby. Jamila, what does success mean to you, for you?
I mean, I think just about the same thing, it's like I have this vision in my mind of, like I see a problem and I'm like, I have a solution, you know what I mean? And I'm going to, do what I can to get the solution out into the world and affect change in however many people's lives that I can affect change in, and when people are giving you feedback and they're excited and they, chefs think whatever you grow is like, oh my God, look at this arugula, they're just so happy about it. And people are coming back and they're telling you what they made for holiday dinners, what they ate this weekend. They are visiting you every single week at market because this is what they are buying for their family. This is how they're nourishing their family. All of that is like, oh my God, I'm doing something. I am actually doing something impactful in the world. And yeah, just having a vision and seeing it actually play out, through all of the challenges, through all of the missteps, all the ways you've had to pivot, all the things that have happened to you and, you've done that were right or wrong, and it's just like, I'm still here. I'm still doing it. I still love it. I'm still like inspired by this work. And I just know I'm on the right path. My family's proud of me. My kids are proud of me. You know what I mean? Like, you just like, you still feel good and warm inside about what it is that you're doing. And the thing that is, and I'm earning a living, you know what I mean? And I'm hiring people and they're, I'm paying them a living wage too. And it's growing and I'm inspiring others. So, yeah, I feel successful, and that success comes from sort of like my community and the impact that I've had in it.
Great. I'm going to take one of the questions. What advice do Jonathan and Jamila have for BIPOC entrepreneurs who might be hesitant to quit their 9-to-5 jobs?
Pulling that trigger to jump out of security and into the unknown it's tough. It can be really tough, and it's very valid anxiety to have. For me, when I made that transition from a full-time job to like, okay, now you're on your own, it was a matter of deciding like, okay, what does that sacrifice have to look like now? Financially, what does that look like? Am I ready and willing to make that sacrifice before this business, this great idea is even able to start paying me back at all, right? And I think setting yourself up for success, making that transition with a plan, right? What does your plan look like for the transition? So if that's a matter of thinking about financially what it looks like, if that's a matter of thinking about like how long do you need to continue working a full-time job, you just have to think around all those things. But at the very same time, I will say that waiting for the perfect moment is not like, it will not come. It will never come. It will never feel like the perfect moment. It's got to be a little scary. It's going to be it's going to make your heart go to your throat sometimes. And I think that feeling of coming out on the other side of that is, and I speak from my own experience, it's more than worth it.
Yeah. Should I answer?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Piggyback on Jonathan, there is never a perfect moment. I wrestled with the idea for like 2 years, at my job. And I spent so much time at the farm that the universe gave me the kick I could not take myself. They were downsizing at the state, and and I tell you, I had no plan. And that was the happiest day of my life. I just felt a weight lifted, and I just was like, oh my God, now I can just focus full time on what I really want to do, because I'm tired of this job anyways. That's probably not the advice I should be giving people, but I will say there is no perfect time. And as much as you can, like maybe save up some money, come up with a plan, but understand that wherever you are stepping into the unknown, and it will not be smooth. And so just be ready. You may have to downsize. You may have to, you may have to be roughing it a little bit, but you will feel just like internally, you're going to feel so good chasing your dream and knowing that you're going to be fulfilled in, making an attempt towards something that you're holding in your heart and that you're committed to. So no perfect time. You just got to do it.
Okay, this one's for Jonathan. Jonathan, you're killing it, bro. How many times did you fail before you started to truly succeed as an entrepreneur?
I'm failing every day.
Still failing.
I'm still failing every day. I think that's, and quite frankly, I'm being honest, because I think that sometimes that might be a misconception. I think that with entrepreneurship, they put you on a television show or whatever, people might think they're like, okay, you're just riding this wave that is always sunny days, and it's nothing but upside. But truth be told, within my businesses, I still have challenges every day, whether it be staffing solutions, whether it be coming up with new operating procedures. With the hotel right now, so much. I don't come from the hotel world. I've literally just stayed in hotels, and I like them a lot, right? So I'm coming at it from the standpoint of a consumer, trying to think about what are the things that I want to experience, right? And feed that back to guests and visitors, right? And I'm not going to get it right every single day. But again, like I was saying earlier, I'm committed to always getting better, being better tomorrow than I was today, every single day. And so the failures keep on coming, but it's just a matter of rolling with the punches and learning from them, and understanding that you have to give yourself some grace, right, and continue to learn.
Okay, this question is for both of you. Do either of you have mentors? And if so, how did you meet them? How did you find them? And advice to young entrepreneurs who might be looking for mentors.
I don't have like one mentor, right? I am a researcher. I think that's my engineering background. Like anything that I go into, I am going to go 100, 1,000% into just like reading information. And I knew the kind of farm business I wanted to have before I even, started. And so I've definitely reached out to other farmers that I see are doing what I'm doing, the scale that I'm doing it, maybe in the same environment that I'm doing. And I reach out to people, hey, can you, and talk to them. I have what I would call a network. I've looked for a mentor. It just has not worked out. But I have a network that I can pull from in the farming community, and that I can connect with, learn from, and we support each other. So I would say my mentorship is more through community than sort of like one individual.
I almost just want to echo exactly what Jamila said. I don't have a mentor per se. That said, I believe that mentorship can be found in a lot of places, right? If I want to know what it takes to grow asparagus, I want to reach out to Jamila, and I want for her to be in my community so that I can learn that from her. If I want to know what it's like to be a 16-year-old high school kid, I don't know what they're doing, what they're into, but a 16-year-old high school kid could tell me a lot more than I could. I could even imagine what it's like to be that age and this time, right? And so I think that, like, more so than mentorship, what I look for is, what can I learn from someone? Everybody has something that they're a lot better and a lot more knowledgeable and a lot more skillful than I am at something. And if I can learn from someone else, I'm voracious about doing that, and surrounding myself with community that adds to me. And so, not a mentor per se, but I'm looking to my community for people that know more than I do.
It sounds like you both have a village that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like, okay. Jonathan, this question's for you. What's the worst advice someone could give to a younger aspiring entrepreneur? The worst advice.
Oh man. Okay. To listen to what everybody has to say to you about what your dream or what your idea is. I think that as an entrepreneur, one of the skills that you have to hone is, with whether it be criticism or praise, like knowing when to listen to opportunities to grow and to improve, and knowing when to say, thank you. I appreciate your advice. I'm moving on, right? And I think it takes time to learn that. I think I'm still trying to get better at that. But listen, I like when I tell you, there were people that I told that, hey, I want to open up a hotel in Fort Worth, Texas, that told me, well, what do you know about opening up a hotel? And if I was committed to if I was internalizing what people said, there's no way that my little 21-room hotel would exist in Fort Worth, Texas. And so I think that words are really powerful and they can be encouraging, but they can also crush people's dreams and keep people from even getting started. So don't always listen to what everybody says, because a lot of times people are going to project on you maybe what they may think or feel about themselves and their own limitations. And if you got it in your heart to pursue something, you gotta chase that down.
There's one quick question. Were there things that friends suggested that you do, either one of you do, or people suggested that you do in your business, and you decided not to do? That it was just like all wrong for you?
Yes. I've tried a lot of things, and I've pivoted them a bunch of different ways. I mean, people definitely I've definitely been told, this is not an industry for women. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And the way to motivate me is to tell me I can't do something. Because I'm okay, really? Because I'm gonna show you, right? So hey, come and tell me I can't do something, right? Anything what specific? I mean, definitely, family, when well-meaning, when you went to school to become an engineer. I mean, that's a pretty stable career. It's a good pay. It's like, don't you think you should keep doing that? I'm like, I have no satisfaction in that career, like none, you know? And it's like, nope, I'm committed to this journey, you know, and I'm committed to this path and I'm going to stick to it. And the one thing I want to say to people is that there is no overnight success in entrepreneurship, in anything. Like, you know, we all, like me and Jonathan are looking like we just, oh my God, we just hitting it right now. I'm 12 years in. He's, you know, since what, 2008, like you will be working and pivoting and figuring it out and this, that, and the other. And all of the collective work that you've done overnight will coalesce to a point. And it will like kind of sort of like drive this, what seems like an overnight success, but it's been all those years of like essentially laying the foundation, of working, learning, of pivoting. So understand the process is going to be ever changing and you're going to constantly be learning and you will be pivoting in your business, you know.
And so much of that cultivation that Jamila's speaking about happens in the dark, right? So much of that happens and it ain't on a TV show.
Nope.
It ain't on Zoom.
Mm-mm.
Nobody sees that, right?
Nope.
And I would just add to that also, you know, there's not one track to success. There's not one way to win.
Yeah.
My path is my path. Jamila's path is hers. Joy's is her path, right? I think that finding your own lane and finding your own flow and where that sweet spot is for you and how you design your life and your work to fit into that is how you find success. But there's not one way to build a barbershop or start a farm or build a hotel. But your path is yours.
And we're running out of time, but there's still some more questions. And this one is actually from someone I know, Teresa here. She has a rose cutting farm here in Magnolia, Texas. And she asked, how do you all find good employees? And how do you inspire them?
I actually find good employees more so like word of mouth and just sort of like within my network of, you know, people like within the farming community. Look, we're all looking for good employees. And, you know, you just sort of reaching out. And then I inspire, I like to give people sort of like ownership of something and knowing that they can make decisions, you know, that give them room to fail, you know, and just really be flexible. It's not a very like, you know, oh my God, we don't have the luxury of, you know, making a mistake, you know. It's like, if I want to cultivate an employee-employer relationship that is long-term, you know, people have to know that they're part of the process of the farm, they're part of decision-making, that they're empowered and that they have the room to learn and fail. Because I mean, you know, that's how I am where I am. You know what I mean? I just learned and read and failed up, you know, I failed and pivoted and, you know, made better decisions. So, you know, yeah.
Quick question on business plans. Did you have one? Did you go to seminars? Anything like that?
All of the above.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
A business plan, I believe, you know, if you're going to financial institutions to, you know, get lending, it's going to be important. I'm a big believer in whether or not you're going for lending, putting together a business plan. I'm a big believer in the power of writing things down. And even if it's not to present to someone else, to make yourself accountable to those ideas and laying out an outline for an idea. And like, nobody who is running a successful business looks back at a business plan and goes, oh, all these things are exactly the way it all turned out, right? Yeah. But I think it's a really great practice to do, but especially if you're going for looking for lending, tightening up a business plan and having someone who has done that before and is skilled in that, go over it with you and help you with that, whether it be putting together your financial forecasting or putting together, your executive summary, writing an executive summary, whatever it is. Having someone that's been through that process before help you with that. If that's not your skill set, I think that's really important.
Yeah. Last question. Are your spouses or family involved in your business? Like, do you have family? No?
Yeah.
Jonathan?
No. I was like, I lost a spouse in the process, so it's all good. It's like, you were the firm. Okay,
that's another webinar.
Another webinar.
That's another webinar.
Well, I'll say number one, my mama is my biggest fan. She tells everybody about everything that I do and tries to send me all the business from her friends at church and beyond. So in that way, yes. My wife she's also an entrepreneur here in Fort Worth. She has a coffee shop, Cherry Coffee, and is very supportive. And we're able to really have separate worlds in terms of business, but at the same time support each other in the ups and the downs of all the things that days, weeks, months, and years of entrepreneurship throw at us. So yes, it's a really important factor, an encouraging factor for me. So yeah.
My family are supporters, but in the day-to-day operation of the business,
no. Okay.
Not right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you both. This has been a pleasure. I think we all have learned so much, and hopefully those watching have learned a lot from you and both on your business and inspired us. So thank you, Jamila and Jonathan. Jamila is her show is Homegrown, and Jonathan is self-employed, right? And it's on the Magnolia network. So please go support their shows and watch. So and thank you to NABJ for hosting this wonderful conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye. And I guess.